Welcome to Business First TV. My name is Tino. Welcome to 2019 once again. On today's show, we have Ray Murphy, who is a business consultant, and I'm going to get Ray to tell us exactly what he does. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Tino. Thanks for inviting me.
Did you like the intro?
Very good. Very professional. I am a business consultant. I do tend to specialise in the construction industry because I've owned my own construction companies, but I also have worked outside because effectively the business principles are the same within any. There are some idiosyncrasies, but pretty much the business principles are the same in any industry.
I just think it's fascinating that you're in construction, building houses, and now you're building businesses.
Yes, very. Yeah. I do have some other different business streams, but the biggest satisfaction I get is from working with people who are starting off their journey in business and giving them the skills to go on and take it on and just run with it.
Okay.
And so they can do what me and you do.
Yeah. And do you specialise in the building industry, or do you go to a wider audience?
I go to a wider audience, but because of my background although I'm not a builder, okay. My background, I've got an MBA and my background is management. However, I've spent a large portion of my working life within the construction industry, whether it be in marketing, sales, or owning my own companies. So I do tend to specialise in construction because I can speak from the heart. I can say, I've done that and I totally copped it up. I've done that and it went very well. And so I can give them personal experience. I worked once with a lady who owned about 5 different yoga studios. And so it's a completely different area from what I've ever worked in before. But the principles of consolidate your buy-in, look at your marketing plan, use it as one, and just brand it as one, and then work together and get all the traditional business principles working. So I do work with other people as well, but it's pretty much construction that I tend to focus on. Because I'll get more clients.
There you go. Yeah. I think if you get a lot of clients from, or a lot more clients from the building industry, then clearly that's working for you.
Yes, it's working.
I think it's also terrific that we have a business consultant who's had a business or had several businesses, as opposed to business consultants who have never had a business other than what they're doing now, perhaps, or perhaps they just work for someone at the moment.
Yeah, I think there is schools of thought. There are certain people who are very intellectual and they come from an academic background. It's nice to be able to have the academic rigour, but also the failures, to be honest, When things are going well, that's great. Everybody ticks over, but you learn so much more when things go wrong. And I have made some catastrophic mistakes, which has enabled me to give advice with the benefit of my personal experience, not from an exercise book, textbook. And to be fair, the master's degree I've got makes you kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. If I didn't have the experience to back that academic side up, then I would be half the person I am now, effectively.
Okay.
I like to think so anyway.
Yeah, but I think that you having built experience, and you're right, of course, when you say that we learn the most from our mistakes, and what you're saying is, look, I've made lots of mistakes, learn from what's in here, and instead of just going out and running with it. I think the problem is that entrepreneurs are very good at running with ideas, and we do that a lot. And instead of bringing somebody on board at an early stage and saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to do this. What do you think? How can you help?" We tend to run with it, and then find that we get blockages somewhere, and then that's when we then go, "Please help." Yeah. Well, some of us do anyway.
Yeah. I also think it's a very good indicator of the person who's asking you, somebody who does what I do, to get involved. Many people, especially with, say, small building companies where they've got an owner who's still working on the tools, but his aspirations are to have a network of companies, but manage it. To have the confidence to go to somebody else because they think, I can do it all myself, I can do it. If you're a carpenter, you always feel you can pitch that roof better than anybody else. So I think it's a very good indicator of whether that person has got the potential to move on and have that dream that he's always wanted, because a lot of people won't have the confidence to actually call that person in, like you say. I think and many people get drawn into working on the business, which obviously needs to be done, but what they don't do is work on themselves. And the transition from being on the tools in the construction industry to being a manager and managing people on the tools, I find is probably the biggest. I suppose you would flip it around. If you wanted me to go out and work on the sites now, that I would find that terribly difficult because of my background. So I find that transition is the hardest thing sometimes to overcome, because when I'm working with people, it won't purely be on the business. It will be mindset. You know, look at yourself, self-development, read, you know, certain books, look at yourself, work on yourself, and that transition will become easier.
But don't people need to aspire to be that? If they don't have inspiration there, then they're always going to be what they are.
And some people that stay in that mindset, in that fixed mindset, can be exceptionally successful. I can work with people that I may look at and say, well, yes, you're going to be successful. Yes, I could perhaps build you some infrastructure to help you support your trade. But it's the people with a growth mindset that will be able to perhaps take it to another level, enjoy that success. And I think it's fair to say to people as well, unless you are prepared to do that mindset, work on yourself, then let's just focus on this. Let's not get carried away. Let's focus on what you're good at and maximize what you're good at. If they're prepared to make that growth mindset shift, then the world is their oyster.
Okay, yeah. I mean, but it's wanting that to change. Yeah. I have, we spoke before, I've got a good friend of mine who's a plumber who, you know, will never grow his business because he'll never let go of his business. So he's almost blackmailed himself into not letting go because nobody else can do a job better than he can.
Exactly.
So you know, he won't grow the business. The business is him, and when he stops doing that, then the money will stop coming in, I imagine.
Yeah, that is another. That's a very good point, because when you're on the tools, you're a lot more productive when you're in your 20s and 30s. When you get to your 60s plus, your work rate is going to slow down. Human nature. So then they're going to have to employ people, and it comes back to that trust thing, like you just said. I can do it better than the next person. All of a sudden, there's a conflict because they don't feel that person they're bringing in does it as well, and there's a problem.
But I see that as you know, your transitional period. You know, you're now becoming a manager as opposed to being a business owner.
Yeah.
You know, and now you've got to manage people and situations as opposed to going out and doing it yourself.
Yeah. But the transition should have been done perhaps 20, 30 years ago. And that's where it's difficult, because you don't want to undermine somebody's aspirations, and you do your utmost to aspire to reach those aspirations.
Yeah.
However, I think you have to work on yourself. When I'm working with people, it would be twofold. It'd be working on yourself and working on the business.
Okay, so elaborate on that a bit more for people who are watching. When you say working yourself, what does that mean? Do you mean like training, or do you mean meditation? Or
yeah, if you're going from a standard, say you're a domestic contractor and you want to move into main commercial contracting, it's a very contractual world out there. And whether you like it or whether you're not, surveyors and commercial surveyors make their money by minimising their costs. And if that means going back to a subcontractor, and the subcontractor didn't have the systems in place to price some extras, for example, they will maximise that, and they will catch you out, and they will not pay you for that extra work. You need to have an understanding in traditional UK law, JCT contracts, which is the kind of form of contract which has so many different variations, but it's the form of contract that the UK industry works under. It may be a design and build form, it may be small works forms. You know, it's got so many different facets to it, but it's still under the JCT banner. And they need to go away and understand how a JCT contract works. But notwithstanding that, it's also, hopefully you agree to this, but a business, they need to maximise a business to generate an income, but the income, in my mind, is to see what life you want. What do you want to use that for? So get them thinking about, do they want to live abroad? Do they want to have a holdings company with 5?
What is your end goal?
Exactly.
Where do you want to be? What do you want to do?
Yeah. And money gives you the opportunity to do that. If you want to do charitable work, if you want to go into the community and help youngsters, then if you can get your business model right, and it should be able to be a working machine, and you should be when it's working properly, you should be the least important person. The people at the coalface should be the people that are making it. And you've effectively got residual income. You still need to manage it, but you have to. It gives you the opportunity to be able to go and do what's really within your heart, what's really you get such a benefit from. And if that's helping youngsters or the homeless or whatever that may be, that's where I try to. And in answer to your question, I think that they need to do a lot of reading on mindset, a lot on self-development, in conjunction with the business skills. Because I don't want to give them, any of my clients, some work to do which I control all the time. That's not my aim at all. My aim is to work with people, show them how to read a set of accounts, how to produce a balance sheet, how to work out your competitive advantage, whatever it may be, work to different frameworks, but that they can do it, and then I can walk away with my head held high, shake their hand and say, you're on your own now. Call me if you ever want to, but you've got everything you need to take this on your own. You don't need me anymore. And that's what I try to do. It's just my thought process.
Aren't you doing yourself out of a job there, though?
I may well be, yeah. And I think but I believe there are many people that do my job that protect with fancy language, and we can all sit here talk about ratio analysis and all that and make it sound so complicated that only that person can help you with. Well, I will take it down to layman's terms and break it down to such an extent that I could be saying sales cost, something, income, outgoings, so that person understands, until they got it to such an idea, at such a level that then we can move it into talking about overheads and expenditure and all the different margins and break-evens, all the things that are there, but do it in a language that your audience understands. And if that is doing me out of work, then I'm not bothered, because I want to give that person the skill set that they are independent and they can show somebody else.
For the people who are watching, just remind us what it is. So what type of services do you offer as a company?
I tend to go in. I've got a number of different clients at the moment. If I give you a couple of examples, there's, say, one client where there is a contractor who wants to take it to a main contractor, and I've physically done that myself, where I've had a small maintenance contractor and taken it into a main contractor. So I can give personal experience of that transition and the things I needed to do. So I will help them. So I will take that. Initially, we may work on a business plan. So there'll be all the facets of the business plan: marketing, sales, background, cash flow forecast, financial analysis. All that side of it will be done. So we may spend maybe a month, depending on how efficient the client is on getting feedback. Because in fairness to them as well, it's not all about me. The fairness to them is that they're on site. When they're coming to see me, it is an investment, but they're also losing money. So we'll try and work together, and I will work as much as I can with the client. It's not about me saying, I want you to do this, this, and this. It will always be in conjunction with what the client wants. So I will set up the business plan for them. Once the plan is determined, and I also feel it's very beneficial to both parties to see the company physically growing. So we will set, once the business plan is determined, we will then set internal targets. So it may be that this particular client hasn't got any the correct infrastructure, financial planning tools at their disposal, so we may need to set that up. It may be that they've got a great product, but they're not really marketing themselves properly, or the sales side is slow. So we will set targets within certain areas. So if we're meeting there on after, say, on a monthly basis, we can get to that point and say, well, actually, out of those 6 targets we set, we've reached 4, or we've reached 6, or we haven't reached any. So, but they can see that the company is slowly moving forward. And if you're at that stage of your development, that could take, it's infinite. The plan will be 5 years. But we will also have, I like to do things from short to mid-term to long-term. So they can see themselves growing all the way, rather than just have an open 5-year plan. You've got to wait 5 years as if it succeeded.
It's a long time to wait.
You could be off target by then. And there will be hurdles, you know, things will be thrown at you that are totally you wasn't expected. So there'll be the route may be there, but there may be a bit of this. But it gives you the focus to come back and just check that you're still heading in the right direction.
How long is a relationship that you have with a client? Can it be like forever and ever, or are they short-term relationships? I mean, it sounds like that you can have short-term relationships with what you do.
A lot of it depends on the confidence of the individuals. I've met people where they've just do the business plan and then they feel they can carry on. I've got clients where they've done the business plan, the business is up and running, but I'm on a kind of not a retainer, but they will call me from time to time. And again, the nature of the way I work, and yes, I could be doing myself out of work, but I won't charge for every time somebody rings me up or somebody, you know, if somebody's got a problem and they want to use me as a sounding board, let's do it. You know, I'm here to help them. So there is an ongoing relationship outside of the initial plan being devised, but I'm there really just to be once we get to a point where I feel they can be let free, I'd like to be just in the background and they can just call me. Yeah.
What's your vision of success? So do you, where is it? Where do you want to take your business?
Business for me is, and this may sound a bit cliche, but in my own time, I do a lot of work with the homeless and Samaritans. A measure of success for me is how many people I can look back and say they're trading totally independently and they're working. The figures will look after themselves. I'm more concerned about seeing people develop. When I had my own businesses, for example, I once had a West Indian labourer, couldn't read or write when he first joined us. I put him on a reading and writing course. So it's about seeing people develop. Okay. And that is my passion, if you like.
Okay. People who are watching today who may be looking for some help, how would they know that they need this help? Well, what sort of questions should they be asking themselves, or what situation do they find themselves in that would prompt them to call you?
There's people have contacted me because they have that dream, if you like, to own a successful business. And I think what I find normally, because probably the highest percentage at the moment are tradesmen that have gone on to have their own businesses. And what happens is they're very successful, very talented tradesmen. The business gets to a point where, because a lot of them keep it in their heads and they price things in their heads, and all of a sudden the volume of work, they're running from Peter and Paul trying to control it, and all of a sudden they're turning work down because they just don't have the infrastructure to deal with it. So most people contact me on that basis where they feel as if things are getting out of control. Okay. You do have people, I've got one particular guy at the moment who's got the foresight to realise that he needed help before he got to that point. So I'm actually really looking forward to working with him because he has a growth mindset already. Okay. Yeah, so I'm quite looking forward to that.
How do people find out more? What's your website address?
The website is www.rjmpartners.co.uk, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And if people look at my LinkedIn profile, they may get a little bit confused because they'll also see a C&A connection. Well, I also do headhunting within the executive search, headhunting within the construction industry.
Great.
The interview.
Sounds fantastic. The entrepreneur as ever.
Indeed. Yeah.
Right, thanks for coming to the show today.
No, thank you very much for the invite.
Guys, so look, if you're at a stage in your business where you think you might need some help, then Ray Murphy might be the person to call. His details are just at the bottom of the screen. Thanks for watching.